Surprise! Surprise, surprise! Zoom was not connecting well at all. I looked like I was in a surveillance video from like a 7-Eleven in 1985. So I'm going to do it live from here, which is awesome. So I just want to set up, so it's just going to take me another minute. Sorry for the delay. Oh, that looks so much better. So much better. And I just want to make sure that you can hear me. And I just don't know what's with the internet today. Surprise! There we go. I'm an incredible dork. I'll say it in that way. But hopefully this is working. I'm gonna go with it. Hide this over here. Dork. I'll say it. Okay. Yeah, this is much better. So we're going to start in seated today for our Yin Yoga class. This is going to be a little bit spine, and we're also going to touch upon the hips. This time in August is about nourishing those things that we decided to move forward with, those things that serve us, the things that bring us joy. And all of the stuff that we either loosen the grip of or decided to let go of, that gives us so much more capacity, so much more space, usable space, emotionally, physically, for us to move forward and be able to accept and give more love and all of the things that you possess. And maybe even through the Yin practice, you start to identify those things that you love to give, the things that you have an abundance of, that when you do give, it makes you feel so good. Hold on to those things. Don't take them for granted. Let's find a comfortable seat, whatever that means for you. You could be laying down, you could be leaning up against a wall. For me, it's always a block right under my bum. I invite you to close your eyes. And start to settle in. You can breathe freely. No need to challenge it. If you would like to follow along with me, we're going to do a breathing technique that aids in bringing us or tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system. It's an in breath for a 4 count, a hold for 4, and then an out breath of 7. So it's 4, 4, 7 breath. So we inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4. Now slowly release it out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. And exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Keep going like that. You're going to hold for 4 and exhale for 7. If 7 is too long, make it shorter. So right now, just feel the contact that your body is making with the ground beneath you. You're either doing the 4, 4, 7 or just relaxing into your own breath, not challenging it. If you think of blood flow like energy, blood flow is very, very easy through the surface, the muscles, the muscle tissues. There isn't as much blood flow in our connective tissues, which are deeper. They actually encapsulate all of our muscles too, but the deeper connective tissues don't get to enjoy blood flow as much as they would like and as much your body would like for them too. So Yin Yoga is a beautiful way to get down into those connective tissues and bring blood flow to them. That's why sometimes when you ease out of a pose, just keep breathing here. Sometimes when you come out of a pose, you might feel an ache. It's actually, in general, it could be the blood rushing to that joint capsule or that connective tissue. In those cases, if you experience that today, you just take it very slowly. No need to panic. Just come into the counter pose. If we're in an arched back, come into a flexed back and just ride it out. Little light movements. We show ourselves and move with compassion today. If you find that judgment sneaks in, say no thank you and try to find your way back to that compassionate state of mind. Don't move into anything painful, please. Anything painful, pinchy or pokey. We're going to be finding our edge, finding a nice tug in a target area, and the shape is going to form around that target area. So it's going to look different for many people. So just keep with it. Set the intention to carry through. Just checking on the video. This is just one of those days. One of those days. All right, start to take a few more breaths here. And we're gonna make our way to our first pose. Hopefully my internet's just bad on my computer. I'm not going to spend too much time here. I'm sure if there is an issue and someone pops on, they might let me know, but I really don't want to be fidgeting with technology right now. I want to focus on you. All right, first pose we're going to move into is butterfly pose. Our feet are going to be together in front of us, and we're going to have about a diamond shape like this with our legs. If you feel yourself being pulled back, place a blanket to bring the floor up further. Bring the floor to your bum. So I'm going to use a pillow today. This is my favorite pillow, my IKEA pillow. And bring the feet out in front. Shoulders are over our hips just to begin. And we're going to start to crawl our hands forward. Your body's going to tell you when it's ready to round. This isn't about keeping everything stiff, right? We're not being active in our muscles to hold ourselves up and pull ourselves deeper. This is a surrender into our current range of motion, allowing our spine to flex forward, allowing our heads to relax, our arms relax, our legs are relaxed out to the side. If you find that your knees are in and you're not able to go forward, support your body where it is right now with some blocks or blankets. Like this. Right? You could put it right underneath your thighs. That gets the muscle like, oh, okay, my muscles can relax. So as we're here and we start our journey, the time that we have in this pose, to start us off, feel free to give your feet a little rub. Sometimes when we approach yin, we're so ready for the tone of yin that we could just slide right in. But during these times and just even through your day, you might find that you feel a little stiff in your mind and you feel a little stiff in your body and it feels a little bit harder to relax. Use your hands. Just push your thumbs into your arches. Move up and down your feet. Stillness does not have to be unmoving. Okay? Doesn't mean that your body has to be completely still. It's a state of mind. The stillness helps you physically to get down to those connective tissues. But if your mind has a little trouble being still, why not just support that, honor that, and try to move past it? Right? Move through it, maybe is a better term. If your head is feeling strained in the back, you can use a block, or sometimes I like to just use my hands on my cheeks. There's so many different ways to support your body. Find your spot, find your edge, and then we're going to continue to stay here. A symmetrical pose like this tends to our lower back, or our back further away from our spine. My assistant is aiding in your relaxation with some rhythmic face scratching. Thank you, Assistant Cooper. Maybe bring your tongue, press it gently in the roof of your mouth. You might find it releases your jaw just a little bit, enough to feel good. Let's enjoy a few more breaths here. Releasing out of butterfly, let's just walk our hands up our legs until we are sitting upright. And you can stretch your legs out in front of you. Just move them back and forth. It's almost like shaking it out a little bit, but then we're going to be still. Let's take a few breaths of pause and reflect on that pose. If your legs are out in front, you can we're going to do another forward fold. So keeping the blanket under your bum might be a good idea here. We're going to separate our feet a comfortable distance apart. We want to make our way into the tissues in our inner leg. Also, this is going to tend to our hamstring as well. As long as you're not moving into anything painful, where you're feeling it is where you're supposed to feel it, if that makes sense. Some adjustments here. If you start to come forward and you feel a very intense stretch in the back of your knees or a very intense stretch in your hamstrings, that isn't the type of tug that you want to feel, or it's not something that you can breathe through, you can bend your knees and place a rolled up blanket. Or you can place a block underneath. I mean, sometimes it's all personal preference. I don't mind the edge of the block under my knee, or the edge of the block right below or you probably shouldn't have the edge of the block directly under your knee pit. Have it below or above. Okay. So you can set up just like that. And your knees can also be bent, but you are trying to pull them up, so we're using a little bit more muscle than is intended. So shoulders over hips again, and let's crawl ourselves forward until our body tells us to release. Everyone's feet are going to be in a different width apart. It's really where you want to feel a tug. You could bring something in front of you to rest your forearms. You can have an ottoman, a couch. And let's relax in this pose in particular. Some people find that there's these little pockets of tension that you don't even realize that you're pulling in your glute. You have a little pocket of tension maybe in your quad. So just taking breaths and releasing it, knowing that it may come back, and that's fine. And you just keep working on it. You just keep working that out. For some of us, it's nice to have that focus. Again, some days you're going to drop right into the yin state of mind. And other times you might need a little coaxing, and other times, sometimes I've done this, I just get up and stop. Because it might not be what my body needs, but I gave it a chance. As your body and your nervous system relaxes, you might find that you're coming forward a little bit more, and that's fine. Just support that new position. And remembering that in stillness there is action. Our body might be still, but there's so much going on in our connective tissues and our nervous system and our brain. So you can find this stillness and recognize that it might be easier for you to access it in your day-to-day. Let's take a few more breaths here. We are settling in during this class today into a little bit longer holds than normal. And to come out, let's walk our hands back towards our body. sliding your hands underneath your knee pits to gently bring them up. Even if you are perfectly capable of bringing your legs forward, let's keep the tone that we've created together, right? And just be very mindful and controlled with our movements. Okay. And if you can, bring your legs into a cross position. Let's have the right leg in front. And we're going to take a second to take a few breaths of pause. We're countering. Our legs were extended out straight, so we're bringing them into flexion. We might still be seated on our pillow or our blanket. We're going to move into our side body and tending to our side body. This is where a couch or an ottoman, you don't have to have these things. You can have a block next to you or a blanket or just the ground. So we're going to be leaning over to find a nice tug in our side body, maybe even circling or coming around the corner to our lower back. My hand can be on my knee, so if you want to give this a try, because we want to find a right spot for you, okay? This is perfectly fine for me. I feel a wonderful tug along my body. I'm able to exhale and drop, making my left hip heavy. But we're going to come into the position now. I just wanted to show it to you first. Our right leg is forward, which means our right hip is in a good position to feel that stretch in the side body more. So we're going to move our body to the left. Sorry, I was demoing on the wrong side. I'm going to show you what this could look like up on a couch. So I've got my handy ottoman right here. So our right leg is in front, and we're going to turn away from our right leg, finding a nice tug along the side body. So this is with a higher support here. So find that tug, whether you are up on a couch or your arm can be all the way down onto the ground, but just try to make sure that your right hip doesn't lift up too much. We want to take advantage of the position here. So I have a block here. You can have blankets. And my right hand or my forearm, I'm just going to reach it across my left knee. There we go. And with each exhale, try to sink the right hip down into the ground and maybe even relax the quad and the right knee a little bit. For some of you, this might feel great too. Lift your arms straight up and drape it over your head. For my bone structure, this does not feel relaxing to me. So I can find other positions and other ways to access this tug, which is very, very nourishing. But for now, right, I want to honor that was not comfortable and just put my arm down here. So find your nice spot. We've already been in this shape for a little bit of time. You may find those little pockets of tension, just like we did before. So just do your best to release them, letting your body know that it's safe, letting your mind know that this position is going to bring you nourishment. Your head can be looking down or at an angle ahead. There's no need to strain your neck here. As we move through our time here in this shape, you may notice that the sensations change. With each inhale, notice what expands and what empties on the exhale. You may notice that your breath is filling and emptying, and it's favoring one side, it's favoring the right side, the open side. We're almost ready to come to center. A few more breaths. And start to start to move your hands towards your body to bring yourself up to center. We were in that pose for enough time to make it feel a little bit achy maybe. So let's take a few breaths of pause right in the middle here, right in center. Does your right side feel fuller? Bring some adjectives, bring some descriptors to what your left side and your right side feel like right now. So part of mindfulness here is just bringing some adjectives and descriptions instead of just moving right past it. There's a benefit to that too in certain activities and certain types of yoga. You are moving at a fast pace, but this time we could really engage and touch base with our body. So now we're going to move that to the other side, understanding that our left side is going to be different than our right. So we're going to switch our legs. The left leg is going to go in front. And if your legs are out here too, that's fine. We're still getting into the side body even if your legs are out. All right, find your spot. I needed to put my block on a higher setting, right? My right side was like this, my left side is like this, because I don't have the range of motion in the side that I do in my right. So for my personal practice, I would probably spend a little bit more time on my left. So let's get into position here. You can bring your left arm around. You can even hold on to your other arm. Anything goes really. If your arm is down and you want to hold on to here, anything goes. As long as you feel a nice tug. And even if you don't, this is a nice little meditation you can take. Relaxing your neck, even if, let's say, your right cheek or your right jawline can rest on your collarbone even. Finding a home for your chin. At any time, you can bring your tongue up to the roof of your mouth. Exhaling, dropping the left hip further towards the ground. And again, you don't want to go far enough over that your left hip starts to lift off the floor. That will take away from the side body sensations. Let's take a few more breaths here. And slowly start to release. And enjoy a few breaths of pause. Maybe even observe what's happening in the shoulder area. You can shake your head no and yes. And we can slowly bring ourselves around to child's pose. If you have that blanket or pillow available, you can keep that right in front of you here. I'm going to bring my knees wide and my toes are together. Yours might look a little bit different. And bring yourself down. You can be up on your forearms if that's comfortable for you, or you can come all the way down. And I might go quiet. We're going to take this time in silence for the next couple of minutes. If this is too much for your knees, go right onto your back and you can bring your knees up to your chest or stay with your feet on the floor, knees bent. Keeping the breath steady and relaxed, we can lower ourselves onto our bellies. Hands can be folded in front and rest your forehead on your arms. Our hips were in a position of flexion in child's pose, and now we're opening that up nice and gentle. For Sphinx, you can stay right here. This is plenty of wonderful stress and compression on our lower backs. So right here is perfectly okay. And if you'd like to join me up on our elbows are going to be under our shoulders, almost like the legs of a table. We're just holding ourselves up to try to keep as much muscle softness as possible. Now, when you come up on your elbows at first, you might notice that your glutes are squeezing in. That's to protect your lower back. But if you're not in anything painful right here, slowly start to release your glute muscles. Okay? It's kind of an odd feeling, but just try to relax the glutes first and then let it pour down, that softness pour down to your feet. And now let the softness run up your back, and once it reaches your upper back, allow your collarbones to sink between your shoulders. You might notice that your forearms start to move into the position that they're meant to be in, right? So my forearms move in, so I'm going to clasp my hands in front. You can also hold on to either elbow or keep your hands flat on the ground. This is totally up to you. I am going to grab a block. If you want to have your neck in flexion down and that feels good for you, awesome. If it feels tender for anyone, you can use a block to rest your forehead, or you can also come up and use your hands on your cheeks. This is going to take a little bit away from the collarbone sinking. It might be an uncomfortable position. Just choose the one that's right for you and let's settle in. Relaxing any of those pockets of tension that might come up. It's almost as if you're trying to exhale your pelvis and your hips and just like spread out onto the mat. Let's take a few more breaths here. And slowly and mindfully, let's all meet with our arms down, our torsos flat on the mat. A few breaths of pause. And the next pose we're going to move into, we can do split up the time, half on our right, half on our left, which I'm going to show you first. So I'm going to get the folks that won't want to come up onto their knees, we're going to come into frog. So we're going to drag our right leg up to the side and relax our head down. This is half frog. Okay. So if this feels good for you and it's nice and it's a lovely, subtle, I mean, it might be difficult for some. This is how I sleep. So I'm like, you know. So this is half frog. So stay right there if that felt good for you, and you can just peek up and watch me. I'm going to come up onto my knees. And it's almost like you're about to move into child's pose. My toes are together. And I'm going to let my knees come out to the side, come down onto my forearms. So for me, this is where I really feel a wonderful tug on my inner legs. So we're going to stay here, or you're just going to stay in the half frog on the right side, and I will let you know when to switch to the left. Anybody that's with me here, we're going to ride it out. We're going to set the intention to carry through. If the weight of your torso is a little too much, you can put a block right underneath your pubic bone. Or a pillow or a blanket, anything that you have. I do like having the block or the pillow underneath because it can be a little bit uncomfortable or scary to feel your body release, specifically in this position, because your knees are starting to pop, not really pop, but like skid out, because your body is surrendering and you're letting it know it's safe. So if you feel scared and you feel like you're clenching because you don't want to have that release feeling, pop a blanket or a pillow or a block underneath your pubic bone or your belly. You could be on a bolster here. Some of you might be flat on the ground, not using your elbows to hold you up. Everyone's going to look a little different. Okay, for those of you that have your right leg up, take a few nice big inhales and exhales. Stay in the position just for a little bit more time. Now slowly start to straighten the right leg back to meet the left. Take a couple breaths in between, and then slowly move into the left side. Setting the intention to carry through. You can come out at any time laying down right onto your belly. We have a little bit more time here. So in our practice today, I know we're using a little bit more muscle than normal. This is Saturday. Maybe you have an active day. If anything, even these more muscle-based yin postures can bring you relaxation and calm. All right, to come out, for those of you laying on your bellies with your left leg up, slowly start to extend your left leg. Hi, Mookie. I'm watching my brother's dog, so I have an audience. They're both just staring at me. Coming out of frog, I like to bring myself back to a brief child's pose to release the block. Please go slow and nice and easy. And let's all meet back in child's pose, just a brief child's pose. And we're going to come up into tabletop. We're actually going to move into one more muscle-based posture. We're going to come into dragon. You know I love to offer up dragon. So I'm just going to switch sides here. It's okay. You can stay right where you are. So in dragon, it's a low lunge. For those of you that would prefer not to be on their knees, just lay down on your back. And you're going to do an upside down version of this. So for those of you in tabletop, bring your right leg forward. Your foot is going to lead over your knee. For those of you on the floor, put your feet flat on the floor, knees bent. Push the feet into the floor to lift the pelvis up and put a block under your sacrum, a rolled up blanket, or a pillow, whatever you have to give some height. We're working our left hip flexor first. So you can slide your left leg straight out and keep the right knee bent, or you can bring the bent knee towards your chest, okay? So slowly make your way into that. And for everyone that is standing and following along with the shape that I am making, we're going to inhale, exhale, rock forward. Let your right leg do whatever it wants. We're focusing on the left hip flexor, the front of the left hip. And inhale again and exhale, let the left hip drop. My right leg likes to just wing out, so I'm going to honor that by actually bringing my foot to a 45-degree angle out, right? So my foot's not straight forward, it's angled out. And I do have my hands on a block. And you can see this, the way that I have my hands on the block is actually decreasing the intensity of the angle on my wrists. If you ever have any sort of wrist pain while doing plank or other, we are in the pose now, by the way, while doing plank or any other like tabletop, make some adjustments and also do some work. You can join us in the in the mobility sessions. We do work our wrists and cars, and we're going to do a little wrist work next week. But whatever you can do to just honor where your wrist feels good, because you want to be able to do your poses not in pain. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your wrist. It just means you might need to tend to it in a different way. Let's take a few more breaths here. And slowly release out. Whether you are in the shape that I'm in, or if you're on your back, just bring your leg to meet the other leg, wherever that might be. You can sit back in child's pose. You can bring your knees to your chest if you're laying on your back. And we'll dive into the other side. So we're going to bring our left leg forward, and for the folks on their back, you're just going to slide your right leg out into extension. Inhale, exhale, rock forward. Inhale again, exhale. Let that right hip sink down. See where your left leg is going. My left knee is coming out, so I'm going to honor that and follow that same position with my foot. You can always rock back and rock back in, or rock back to child's pose at any time. Each side is different, so just because you did a few minutes on one side doesn't mean you have to do a few minutes on the other. Let's take a few more breaths here. And push your hands into the block or the ground. Bring yourself back to child's pose. And for those on your backs, nice and controlled. Bring the straightened leg in to meet the other leg. Bringing your knees up towards your chest. Give yourself a nice hug. In either position, we are closing the extension that we just had in our hip flexors. We're closing that gap. So we're just finding balance even with the order of our movements here. Let's start to begin to gather up the tone and the movements that we just expressed. Gather it all up. One nice big inhale. Exhale. Let that tone sink in with each exhale. We have come to the end of the practice. And as always, how we end class is up to you. I like to get out of the way. If you want to lay down on your back and enjoy a nice Shavasana for however long you want, do so. You can also join me in any sort of seated shape you like as I begin to close out class. Bringing your hands together in front of your heart or folded onto your heart. Imagining a sun in between your hands and your heart, growing lighter and brighter with each inhale and exhale. Feeling the warmth of your hands. Let that sun burn up any negative thoughts, any negative tension. But especially for now, for us in August, let's let that sun warm all the joys and the pleasures that we have in this moment right now, throughout our day. Just let it shine a light on all of those things. Warm it, nurture it. I am grateful for you. I'm grateful for this practice. Thank you for joining me. Love, laugh, and play. Namaste. I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful day. As I crawl towards you. Take care.